By the time my dad tapped his fork against his beer bottle, I already knew I was about to become a prop. Family barbecues at my parents' place followed a script. My brother Daniel stood near the grill with our dad, absorbing praise by proximity. I hovered somewhere between the patio door and the cooler, useful but not central. My dog Murphy lay under the table, content to exist without approval. Dad cleared his throat like he was about to toast a wedding. "I've been thinking," he said, loud enough for the aunts to quiet down. "It only makes sense that we support the ones building something real." He clapped Daniel on the back. Daniel grinned, tired but proud. His wife Claire balanced their 6-month-old on her hip. Dad turned toward me. "Your brother's a real man now. Wife, baby, a future." He gestured broadly like he was unveiling a monument. Then he looked at me. "You've got what?" "A dog." Laughter rippled across the yard, not cruel. Just easy. Murphy thumped his tail once against the concrete. Dad kept going. "So I was saying, it would mean a lot if you'd gift your house to Daniel. Help him out. That's what family does." The word gift hung in the air like it was already decided. My house. The one I bought 5 years ago without asking anyone for help. The one I renovated room by room on weekends while everyone else went on vacations. The one my dad had toured exactly once and described as nice but lonely. I felt that old tightening in my chest. The one that came every time Daniel's milestones were treated like collective victories, and mine were framed as placeholders. I could have laughed it off. I'd done that before. Instead, I set my drink down. There's a moment when you decide whether to stay inside the story people wrote for you, or step out of it. I'd spent most of my life choosing the first option. I didn't raise my voice. "Funny you'd say that," I said. Dad smirked, expecting a joke. I reached into the tote bag I'd left by the chair. The folder felt heavier than it was. I placed it on the patio table between the potato salad and the burger buns. "Want to see the DNA test your future is built on?" The laughter stopped, not dramatically. Just cut off. Daniel blinked first. "What are you talking about?" Claire's fingers tightened slightly on the baby's blanket. I didn't look at my dad. I looked at Daniel. "You asked me to help you with something a few weeks ago," I said. "Remember?" He did. Late night, quiet panic. A comment from a coworker about blood types that didn't line up. A seed of doubt he hated himself for planting. He hadn't wanted to go alone. He hadn't wanted Dad to know. The test had been processed through a certified lab. Legal documentation. Sealed results. I hadn't opened it alone. We'd opened it together, sitting in my kitchen while Murphy lay at Daniel's feet. He knew what was inside that folder. "I told you not to bring that up," Daniel said, voice low. "I didn't," I replied. "Dad did." My father's face had shifted from amusement to irritation. "What is this?" I slid the top page forward but didn't push it toward him. "It confirms Daniel isn't the biological father. No theatrics. No emphasis, just fact." A breeze lifted one corner of the paper before settling it again. Claire inhaled sharply but didn't deny it. Her eyes were wet, not shocked. "Tired. I was going to tell you," she said to Daniel, barely audible. "I just didn't know how." The baby fussed, sensing something had shifted even if he couldn't name it. Dad stood up so abruptly his chair scraped hard against the patio stones. "That's not." He stopped. Looked at Daniel. "Is this real?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. His jaw worked like he was chewing something bitter. "It's real," he said finally. The yard felt smaller. The aunts pretended to busy themselves with plates. Someone turned the grill down too low. I hadn't brought the folder to destroy him. I brought it because I knew this conversation, about my house, about worth, wasn't really about generosity. It was about hierarchy. About who qualified as legitimate. Dad had always measured manhood in visible milestones. Marriage, children, continuation. He'd never known what to do with me. "You think this changes anything?" Dad said, but the certainty was gone. "It changes the story," I replied. "At least the one you were telling." Daniel looked less angry than hollow. Claire shifted the baby to her other shoulder and stared at the ground. The authority wasn't me. It wasn't emotion. It was paperwork. A lab result with a reference number and a signature. Something that didn't care about family narratives. No one mentioned the house again. After a few minutes that felt like an hour, Claire said she needed air and walked toward the front yard. Daniel followed. Dad didn't look at me. You didn't have to humiliate him, he muttered. I didn't, I said. You tried to. He had no response to that. Murphy stood and nudged my leg, sensing it was time to go. I picked up the folder and slid it back into the tote. I didn't leave it behind. It wasn't a weapon. It was Daniel's reality, and he would decide what to do with it next. As I walked to my car, no one stopped me. No one apologized either. Daniel caught up to me near the driveway. I was going to figure it out, he said. I know. He looked smaller somehow, stripped of the pedestal Dad had built for him. I didn't ask for the house, he added. I know that too. We stood there for a second, two brothers without an audience. Then I got in my car. Murphy settled into the passenger seat like always. On the drive home, I felt something unfamiliar, not triumph, not relief. Clarity. My house was still mine. Not because I'd defended it loudly, but because it had never been theirs to assign. When I pulled into my driveway, the porch light flicked on automatically. I'd installed that myself. Murphy jumped out first, tail wagging, unconcerned with legacy or lineage. Inside, the rooms were quiet. I realized something as I set the folder on the kitchen counter. Favoritism survives on unchallenged stories. The moment you question the script, the applause fades. I didn't know what would happen to Daniel's marriage. Or to my relationship with my dad. But I knew this. My worth wasn't measured by who carried my last name forward. And my home wasn't a prize for meeting someone else's definition of a future.